All right. I think we're live on Rockfin only because YouTube are some shady bastards and didn't want me to go live on there today. Basically, I'm just waiting for Rockfin to kick in at the moment, Dennis, so that people could see. Oh no! Did Rockfin not kick in? Hang on. Porcfest reduce. Oh my God! Rockfin isn't even working right. Oh, hang on. Why isn't it going? Dennis, all the technology is failing me. Why isn't it going live? Oh, here we go. We found it. We did it. Okay, it is now live on Rockfin. We are working. We are up and running. So hopefully we can get some people over here. We've had a little snafu today, guys, and I apologize for that. I logged in 10 minutes ago, found out YouTube gave me a strike for something ridiculous and stupid. And so I cannot live stream on YouTube for a week. So now we are over on Rockfin, and I'm just getting that link to be able to share out with everyone where the direct feed is happening now. Hi, Dennis. Welcome to a rather eventful feed. I'm so glad you're here, though, and I'm really glad that we're going to be able to have a conversation today about Porcfest, which I'm very excited about. But you were telling me something interesting, just kind of like while we were waiting for people to come in. You were telling me that you got banned off of Quora for being too smart and writing too many smart essays. So can you tell us that story while we're kind of waiting for people to trickle in here?
Sure. Right before I took over Porcfest, as a matter of fact, the reason I did take over Porcfest, I had been writing on Quora, which is an intellectual competitive site, primarily essays, for 4 years. I had written 1,800 answers all around libertarianism, but more from an ethical perspective of how should we treat one another as human beings, and what the basis of libertarianism thought is, and how that propagates out into all the different libertarian policies and straw men, really, that are thrown at us. And so I don't actually deal with politics. I'm not in the Trump versus Biden versus Hillary debates. I'm not in any of that stuff. I'm really just in, how as we as human beings should be treating one another. And in January, early January, I logged into Quora and my account was shut. And I was really surprised. Now, I had, for 4 years, I was the #1 writer on libertarian topics. I also, my answers, so my 1,800 answers were always ranked as #1, #2, even when there were hundreds of answers, my answers were ranked really high. So I wrote them, I said, look, what did I do? How is it that you locked me out? And they wrote me back and they said, I'm sorry, we have reviewed your account and we have determined that your answers are just not useful.
What?
Now their own algorithms ranked me as the #1 writer on libertarian topics. Their own algorithms had me, and I'm still, if you go to Quora, you can still see I didn't take down any of my stuff because I want them out there. I don't make any money. I want to try to communicate this beautiful philosophy that we have. But their own algorithms ranked my answers as the #1 answer in most cases. And yet they had the gall to say, your answers just aren't useful.
Wow, that is insanity. Oh my God. Well, I mean, I think it's so funny. It's so funny. Like when I was a Democrat, I never had to think about these issues at all. I never had to worry about being banned or censored or any of these things. And then literally immediately upon leaving the left, it started right in and I started getting canceled. But what I've come to learn is that they're even more afraid of the libertarians than they are of the Republicans. It might be a little bit on the down low, but I'm increasingly finding that the Democrats are way more afraid of libertarians, especially in New Hampshire. The Free Staters are like the big bad wolf that they feel is like trying to pounce and like take over. What do you think about that?
Yeah, right. The group that's most into peace, love, and understanding is the big bad wolf. So for me, I come from the left, so I don't actually see this as a left-right issue. I see this as an authoritarian libertarian issue. And yes, the argument for authoritarianism is that you are good if you obey your rulers, if you obey the laws, if you support the rulers in the proper way. Libertarianism, because it's not just a hodgepodge of policies and this appealing to this interest group versus that interest group, it actually is based in ethics, in the ethics of that's formulated with just one principle: self-ownership. From self-ownership, all of libertarianism is derived. And so if you don't own your body, you're a slave. If you don't own your body, how can you even communicate? There's performative contradictions if you say, oh, I don't own my body. So from just that, we get libertarianism. And that scares the heck out of authoritarianism, because it is a direct attack on their ethic. Their ethic is submit to me or die. And if you're good, you will submit to me or you die. We actually say, no, look, we own our own bodies. We are not slaves to any other human. And even if the person has a badge or is a ruler or came out of some magic ballot box, is blessed by these religious people, or is purportedly a god themselves, we still are not a slave. We own our own bodies. And from that is libertarianism. So it's an attack. At least the ethical side is a direct attack on all authoritarianism, on authoritarianism from the left and authoritarianism from the right. And so, of course, we are an existential threat to them, which is good, because we want to be an existential threat to authoritarianism. We want to end. We are essentially abolitionists. We want to end the remaining slavery, which is the longest slavery, which is slavery to rulers.
Absolutely. Well, when I first left the left, I had people telling me left and right. I promise we're going to get to Porcfest in a sec. I'm just trying to give people time to kind of like mill in. But I had people telling me, Carlin, you're really a libertarian. And I was like, no, I hate the libertarians. The libertarians kind of suck. I don't want to be a libertarian for reasons that I think, for many libertarians are great. And you are one of the libertarians that's great, but many are not so great. And so I was like, I really did not want to be associated with it. And I have to tell you, over the course of learning how badly the Republican Party sucks, and also seeing kind of what the Mises Caucus is doing and getting really excited about that. And then also just kind of I think coming to grips with, what was the clincher for me when I really started paying attention was when I realized how I pissed the Democrats off so much more by even mentioning the libertarians than I did. And that's when I kind of started paying attention. I was like, what's going on here? Because anything that the left is pissed about, because I view them as very authoritarian and very power hungry at this point, if they're pissed about something, then I'm going to be paying attention to exactly what they don't want me to be looking at. Right. So that's when I started kind of looking into it. And then I realized that there was some really interesting things going on even within the Libertarian Party. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to, if the Republicans are intent on losing anyway, and I don't even agree with half their values to begin with, maybe this is actually kind of an interesting home to kind of play with. And I've actually found that in terms of watching the materials out there, I mostly, I think, align with the major principles that the libertarians are putting forward more than anyone else. Now, the problem is you guys ain't winning any elections anytime soon, but maybe that's okay. I don't know. It's important to stand for principle, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about, private, the abolition of private slavery, that took hundreds of years. And it was a long haul job, just because it was such an institution. And even a few years before, there was a Liberty Party that was its main platform was abolition of slavery. I call it private slavery because it's not slavery to rulers. They were going to keep that. That's really important to keep. We have to keep that. But private slavery. It was only 2%, 3% of the population. It's just a very small thing. But their influence was oversized because the influence that we're actually trying to have is we're trying to change people's perspective. we have broken ethics, and that's how governments have killed 250 million people in the last century of their own citizens, and another 125 million of foreign citizens in war. It's that broken ethics that allows people to say, yeah, if my ruler says do these terrible things, well, of course I have to do that because my ruler has a superior ownership. I have to obey him. I'm good if I obey him. That is broken ethics. That's how we get man's inhumanity to man. And what libertarians, we're actually a long haul abolitionist group. We will win because the logic, basically if you contradict self-ownership, you get into all of these contradictions that just can't exist. So they can use propaganda and straw men and ad hominems to keep us down. But we're sound. We're logical. We're caring. We're much more tolerant. We're much more diverse. And I believe that our win is inevitable. The question really is how. Mm-hmm. And I don't have a crystal ball. I'm giving a talk at Porcfest. The 14 different ways generally that people have suggested about moving to freedom. One of them is the Libertarian Party, and another is working through one of the older parties. But those are just two ways. There's other ways, and I'm sold on the Free State Project. That's why we moved 2.5 years ago. But I've tried a lot. My 40 years as a libertarian, I've tried a lot of different ways, and I still don't know. It's all a big bet, big gamble. I'm very optimistic though, that we will prevail, and we'll prevail not on consequential grounds, not because we produce the greatest benefit for the greatest number, and that's true, we do, but not because of that, not because we attract assholes who say just leave me alone. Okay, yes, of course, those people. God love them. They want to be left alone. And we say, we'll leave you alone. So they like us. But we are going to prevail on ethics. We're going to prevail because really our relationships must be consensual. And if we're not in consensual relationships, if we're not doing voluntary win-win, we're just being brutes. We're being bullies. We're being assholes, and most people don't want to be an asshole. So they've got the ethics wrong. We need to correct their ethics as soon as enough people get it. And I'm hoping in at least one region here in the Free State, we're gonna see a lot of libertarian actions, and then we can model it for other people. There's a lot of people who will never leave authoritarianism. Never leave authoritarianism. God bless them. I just want to keep them away from me.
Well, and I think, you mentioned the Free State Project in New Hampshire, and I know that not everyone is familiar with the Free State Project. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the Free State Project is one of 14 different strategies for how to, it's actually in a class of 14 different strategies for how to actually create freedom for human beings in the real world. And in this strategy, what it says is, look, libertarianism is such a low incidence, we're 1%, 3% of the population, that if we stay dispersed throughout the population, you will always be a minority. You'll always be a minority, disparaged, defamed, ad hominem, straw man in amongst all these authoritarians. You say, oh, well, don't listen to that idiot. Even though we have something beautiful to offer, we have something logically sound to offer. And so it's really hard to be a libertarian. If you look at libertarians, they get a little bit nasty over time because they're just so besieged all the time. So the idea behind the Free State Project was, look, you don't have to be a small minority. What we're going to do is we're going to invite all libertarians together in one location. And there we can actually be a large minority or even a majority at some point. Mm-hmm. And we can actually create a model libertarian society where we are not using violence or not threatening violence in order to force people to be more like me, or more like you. Yeah, and we're fighting over, well, people should be more like me, Carlin. And you say, no, Dennis, people should be more like, it's like, well, why don't we just allow each person to be like themselves?
Mm-hmm.
Boom!
Oh, what a concept.
Oh my goodness, you're revolutionary. You're dangerous.
I'll tell you, this is a conversation that I felt like I was going crazy when I was trying to have this conversation with the Republicans, because I was like, freedom means the freedom for people to be able to live the way they want to live, even if you disagree with that. I don't have to disagree with the decisions you make, or I don't have to agree with the decision you make in order to advocate that you're an adult and should be able to live your life however you want to live it. And as long as you're not stealing my stuff or like beating me up, I don't really care. And I feel like a lot of the Republicans kind of like pay lip service to this. They're like freedom, 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 but when it comes down to it, they don't really mean it. And the Democrats just like forget it. Like the Democrats want to control everything. We've seen enough of that. That's why I don't even address it. But I feel like the Republicans, at least sometimes, they talk about freedom, but they don't really mean it. And I think when I look at least my interactions with some of the libertarians so far, I feel like it's a much more structured sense of really understanding the value of that. And I will also say this too, in that I think that of all the different political groups that I've kind of explored in the last year and a half, the libertarians are far and away the most educated. Far and away. It's like I joined the Mises Caucus and they were like, okay, Carlin, you need to read these 12 books on economics. I was like, I didn't get a reading list when I joined the Republicans, you know?
Well, there's both the consequential arguments that human freedom is more beneficial to humans than is human slavery, right? So there are those arguments, and in order to be really good at that, you have to read a lot, because you have to read in every single area. Oh, well, here's a tome on minimum wage, and here's a tome, on licensing, and here's a tome on racism, and it just is it's endless. It's endless. Mm-hmm. But then also just ethics. How do we, which is really the underpinning of libertarianism, that we do have to respect each other as a unique human being, and that I will not try to force you to be like me, and you will not try to force me to be like you. We are one of the least narcissistic groups around, because we make a distinction between our own personal preferences. For example, I like this, I hate this. Oh, that's terrible. Why would anyone do this? Okay, so I still retain those opinions. Okay, and I might say, someone does that, I don't want anything to do with them. Okay, mm-hmm. But we make a line and we say, okay, but that's not a thing that allows me to use violence. I was explaining this to a woman, who my hairdresser, and she was going, yeah, well, everyone should meditate. Mm-hmm. And I just see the narcissism. She meditates. She thinks it's extremely important. She thinks it's really valuable. And she could support a law for everyone to meditate. And I'm going, and I'm trying to explain to her that she should just argue that, and that, of course, we would never want to use violence in order to do that.
Right. I think that's actually a great example, because I meditate, and I actually do believe everyone should meditate, but I also think that there are many reasons why people wouldn't meditate. Like, it's not the life experience they want to have. There's an aversion to it. There's a whatever the case is. It's like, but I ultimately view it as like, it's none of my business really whether you do it or not. It's only my business if I do it, and then I can say I found it beneficial for reason X, Y, B, and Z. Maybe I convince you, maybe I don't, but we shouldn't be legislating that. That's ridiculous.
Well, it's pretty interesting, because of course we're raised all of our young lives to answer the question, well, what should the law be? Yeah. That's like the default question that we're asked, which assumes, okay, what do I want? And now I'm gonna force it on everyone else. The law should be this, and then we have this big battle over what the law is. Never are we raised in government schooling, especially, to say, how can we appreciate other human beings who are very different from us and allow them to be they, and yet we still retain ourselves. And so a lot of the difficulties, I would suggest, I don't know what difficulties you're talking about, but a lot of the difficulties that you may have faced, Carlin, is libertarianism is so hard to extricate that ego out of libertarianism. Libertarianism, I argue, is extremely small, thin little ethic that says, you know, we will not use violence except to protect ourselves, our bodies. And other than that, you know, it's live and let live, and we will associate into groups where we have preferences, you know. So you and I may belong to a meditation group, right? And we actually prefer people who are a little bit calmer and more meditative and more conscious. And other people might go, oh yeah, you know, this is the MMA group. We really like violence and stuff, you know. And maybe those two groups don't like each other, but we don't say, oh well, you know, I'm going to force you to meditate, or we're going to force you into the ring. You know, we just don't use violence across it. So it's just hard. It's hard because we're trained in authoritarianism. We are steeped in it. Our parents oftentimes use authoritarian methods to raise us. They don't use peaceful parenting methods. They don't use methods that support our own body ownership. And so we're taught these things, you know, sharing is caring and all this type of stuff that rejects self-ownership. And so it's really hard for libertarians. They'll glimpse it and it's like, oh my God, I see it. But then it's clouded with all of our other things. And I have these battles all the time. We have libertarians in here who think that, oh, libertarianism means this, and this. And I go, no, those are your kind of personal values. I understand you think that they're really valuable. I actually agree with some of them, but that's not libertarianism. Libertarianism means just that you can have those values and someone else can have these values. And we don't have to actually fight over whose one value is going to be on everyone.
Absolutely. Well, I feel like I could keep this conversation going for a while, and maybe we can do another stream about like where we just like philosophize for a while in the future. But we have an important matter of business here today, Dennis, because, you know, I'm not a person that does anything in a half-assed method. And so when I go to something, like I dig right in. Like when I left the left, I went to a Trump rally because that was the most extreme thing that I could think to do at that time, to throw myself into the other side. And now, because I'm kind of like, you know, gravitating more towards libertarians, I am throwing myself into Porcfest. Now, what is Porcfest? Because you are one of the key organizers of this event.
Yes. So the Free State Project is basically saying, look, you know, if you feel isolated, if you feel besieged, first of all, you don't have to. Second of all, you're not crazy. Come and congregate with us in one state, in New Hampshire, and we can actually work together to create greater freedom for humanity and demonstrate this to the world, what this actually looks like. The Porcupine Freedom Festival is our big summer immersion program in freedom. So it's come, and here's what a free village might look like. Now, of course, you know, it's hard because, you know, a lot of people are coming in for the festival part. And of course, you know, we would be doing a lot more work. People like me are working like crazy during it. Volunteers, we have a lot of volunteers who you know, spend thousands of hours to put this thing on. But it is intended to be a place where you can actually rest assured that the people around you respect you as a human being, respect you, and they'll disagree with you. You'll never meet a more argumentative group, but they'll never use violence against you. They'll never use violence using a proxy of a politician who hires a thug to use violence against you. They'll never do those types of things. And so it's really a way of meeting people who, some of whom you disagree with on those values. Remember those values, you know, I disagree with those, but others, you actually agree with them on their values. You can kind of connect with them, and then you can study your own philosophy of life and where this ethic of live and let live, and how do I respect other people, even when I disagree with them. You know, even when I think prostitution is a terrible thing, it's a demonstration of a broken childhood. There's sadness there, there's pain there, and it's not my body, and I'm not going to hurt that woman for doing that. And I'm not, I may argue with the man. I go, how can you do that to somebody so, broken and, but I'm not going to hurt him, So, how do we do these types of things where we can actually separate our own personal preferences from what it is that how we're going to be interacting with each other? So it's 7 days. The first day is kind of, the tents are set up and all that type of stuff. It's very loosey-goosey. And the last day is everything's coming down. So we say it's 7 days, it's really 5 days. It's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And we have a lot of different events. The main innovations I've done this year was really leaning into decentralizing the events. So we have all these hubs of activities. I basically went around and said, I'm not designing this thing. I want to know what you're really passionate about. Tell me what you're really passionate about. Here are tools that you can actually design things. So last year at Porcfest, we were like the only festival that actually went during the year of COVID. And we said, damn it, we're going to do it. This is freedom. We're going to do it.
That's the whole point. You acted like libertarians. Who would have thunk it?
It was enter at your own risk, and a lot of people chose not to. And we had one of the lowest attended things. We only had like 900 people show up last year, but it was a lot of fun. And one of the things I did was I did this kind of share your passion, and we had 104 events. I think this year we're going to have more than 700 events. More than 700 events over the course of the 5 days or 6 days or 7 days, depending on when you get there. I actually get there the Friday before. In 2 weeks, I'm packing up and loading up the car to get over to Porcfest. So that's how close we are to it. And we have, so last year we had 900 people. This year we are sold out. We've never had this number, 2,500 people. And I can't keep it at 2,500. We actually have sponsorship packages that include tickets. So people are buying up the sponsorship packages, and
wow,
2,500 people. And we have like this brisk aftermarket. We sold out the campsites 2 months ago. We sold out the hotels 2 months ago. So there's this brisk aftermarket selling tickets and selling campsites. And I'm going, please, because if you're willing to give up your ticket for $100, I want the person who wants to come for 125. That's the person I want. I mean, we started ticket prices at 30, and right. I warned them. I said, look, I've got some plans here, and I actually have a history of startups, of being able to reimagine things and redesign them. And I really, I did a lot of segmentation. I did a lot of targeting to extremely high need liberty people. I said, I'm not going to do what we've done in the past. And so by February, the end of February, March really, the February numbers came in and people stopped complaining that I was changing everything. My process is extremely, it's hard on people because I change things so much. And people were going, oh, we've never done that. You can't do that. Oh my God, you're totally screwing up. And there was talk that we need to get Dennis out of here because he's changing too many things. And then my numbers came in, and we were so far ahead of the curve. And at 3 months out, my people demanded that I give them my projection of the number of tickets that were going to be sold. Typically, we're around 1,200 will sell. And my hope this year, and I refuse to play that game of say, I will promise you these things, because I actually fulfill my promises. And so promising on some future thing, I was like, no, I promise you, I will rethink this really well. I promise you, I'll do a lot of targeting. I promise you, I will inspire. I promise you these things. I don't know what the outcome will be. But anyway, so my goal was to break the record, which was 1,500. And I broke that 3 months out. So 3 months, I broke it. And I was like, okay, I think I better because my foot was hard on that acceleration, because I was almost taken out a couple of times, and people were really angry with me for this and for that, and just really changes that are putting it more aligned with our goals, the Free State Project goals of attracting high need liberty people to the free state. And then I added a second goal, which is to actually activate people and get them connected. So we're doing this hub strategy where people gather together in these various hubs. And then on Telegram, we have all these affinity groups where people are getting together. They're planning Porcfest together. And that's how we're getting so many events. I go, well, why don't I do a talk on this? And we can do a discussion here. And I'm going, yes, please bring it. I'll add it to the schedule, And so it's, I call it my stone soup. Do you remember the fable of the soldier who comes home from the war? He's starving to death and he goes to the village and all the villagers are scared. They don't want to feed him. And they say, oh, we don't have any food. We have no food. And he's starving to death. And he comes up, he says, don't worry. I have this idea. And he has a pot. He puts it over a fire and he takes these stones and he puts it in this stone soup. And all it is just water and stones boiling. And he's stirring it. And he's going, oh, this is so fabulous. And slowly they come out and they go, well, what are you doing? I'm making the best stone soup you've ever seen. And it could use just maybe a little bit of onions. And someone said, oh, I have some onions. And they bring some onions. Oh, maybe some potato. And eventually the entire village comes out. And everyone is adding food to this stone soup. And they have the most marvelous community meal. And it's everybody bringing their little pieces out. I'm basically the soldier. All I did was I brought the pot and the stones and the water and a lot of enthusiasm. Please come and support and inspiration, finding the right people. A lot of my work is looking around and going, okay, who's actually starting to do something? And then I notice, I go, oh, Stephanie, she's doing this. Let me contact Stephanie. Stephanie, you're doing great. How can I support you? How can I build you up? So it's that type of thing. And so this is a stone soup festival where we have everybody in the community organizing different things. And you can the official Porcfest events. I run basically two venues. I run the pavilion where we have 500 seating and another 300 standing room. So that's 800 people. 2,500, 800. Remember, so that's just for the pavilion. And that's where we have our big speakers come in, and Dave Smith and Tom Woods. And this is the things that like kind of corporate libertarianism with. Oh yeah, well, they have these people. This is really fantastic. And then I also run the Anthem Theater, where we have, I'm doing a Liberty 101 series of classes. So at 10 o'clock is an Econ 101, and at 11 o'clock there's a Liberty 101, and 12 o'clock there's an FSP 101, and then at 1 o'clock there's a Liberty Tools 101, how to do these different things. And so anyway, so throughout the course, there's like these threads that you can kind of come, and if you're kind of new and you're curious, great place to go. But that's all I really run. Everything else is run by, you could be running a hub and have, I want to create these types of talks, and you can invite people. And so that's how I basically, with just running two things, I'm magnifying this to this very large scale with the benefit of attracting the most liberty demanding. These aren't liberty curious. These are liberty demanding. I want human freedom. I don't want to be treated poorly. And I don't want to live in a society where that is the default. I want to live in an ethical society where we treat each human as human.
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, I want to say congratulations on the success you've had this year, because it is really incredible. You guys sold out weeks ago. The event's never sold out before, so you're obviously doing something right, and that's got to feel really good. And give yourself a little pat on the back for that. I think that's awesome. But the other thing I want to say is that I've obviously never been to this event. I've never been involved in this event. I've never been speaking at it. But I started to get pestered by some of the state reps in New Hampshire, some of the more liberty-minded state reps, when I was working on the critical race theory bill, and they're like, Carlin, you have to go speak at Porcfest. You have to go speak at Porcfest. I was like, fine. I don't know what I'm going to say to this group of libertarians, but fine. And so I eventually finagled my way, I guess, into doing a talk about critical race theory. But I have to tell you, it was a little bit of a discombobulating experience for me because I'm very used to events where I'm asked to speak and then I just say, okay, let's tell me where to go and when to be there, and I show up. This was seeing what's happening in the different groups and how you're putting it together. It was a little bit discombobulating, but it was also kind of really interesting as someone who I would consider myself an outsider still to see it, because it was one of these things where I can do a talk on critical race theory, but guess what? On Thursday morning, I think at 11 a.m., I'm doing a knitting workshop and I'm going to teach people how to knit. And I was like, this is the best. I can have I can do my work, my good work, and then I can have my dessert all in the same event.
Yeah. Well, as a matter of fact, it's really interesting for me because people are doing things that I never would have dreamed of because I have my own biases and stuff like that. So this shows the power of decentralization. Mm-hmm. I just have to be really careful that I'm open to people doing things, and people will say, can I do it? I say yes. And so someone like you would come in and I'd say, well, have you talked to the political tent? Have you talked to the women's tent? Right? We have a women in a free state. Have you, and I would never have thought, well, have you talked to the knitters? Yeah. But that group actually arose and I would go, wow, this is great. And there's a cosplay group and, the gamers are doing different things. And it's very interesting to see and it's exciting to see. And it demonstrates, I think, what libertarianism is, that we are not a top-down, you must be like this. We share a basic ethic of respecting the humans, and then the diversity of humanity can spring forth from that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the only diversity that you're not going to have there is the people who say, I will rule over you. You must do what I say, or otherwise I will hurt you, and I will continue hurting you until you're either submitting to me or dying. And I may not do that myself, but I have plausible deniability because I'll vote for someone who will do exactly that to you. Yeah. So those people won't be there. Mm-hmm. Instead, the people will be going, well, tell me a little bit more about what it is that you think is interesting. Wow, I never would have thought that. Well, good luck with that.
Well, I'm really excited about it. Okay, I have a few just kind of basic questions that people have asked me when they knew that we were going to be having this talk today. Okay, number one. Why did you guys choose the porcupine? What is with the porcupine? Because I can't tell you how many people I've said, I'm going to Porcfest, and they're like, Carlin, you're going to a festival about bacon? I'm like, no, I'm going to something even better.
Yes, so I always have to say it's Porcfest with the C, which stands for the Porcupine Freedom Festival. And the porcupine has been a symbol of the Free State Project from fairly early on. It's actually been adopted a lot by libertarians now. But the idea is, as opposed to a snake, or an eagle, or, it's a loving, quite cute. I don't know if you've ever looked at a porcupine, but look up porcupine in YouTube. And they are so cute. And they just, they eat, they do their little thing, and they don't bother anyone. They just live their life. But if you try to attack them, you will get hurt. So don't attack them. Just leave them be. And that's really kind of, if we're looking at, what animal is the closest to libertarianism? We're not jackasses and we're not, thumpers like elephants. So what is it? And the porcupine is really our best, our closest association, where it's live and let live. We're not going to bother you. We will not attack you, but we will defend ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Now, okay, logistical question. 2,500 tickets have been sold. Is there going to be parking?
My man, Aureus Humboldt, who is just up to Rogers campground. He's another one of our many volunteers. I'm just a volunteer. People keep on asking me what my title is, and I say, well, if you don't like volunteer, how about chef de village, which is a term from Club Med, kind of the director of the village. But so he was just up there and he was surveying basically what we're going to ask people to do when they come in, especially if you're in the hotels or the Airbnbs, and we've sold those out for a while. So some people are as far as 30 minutes away, which frankly isn't that far to drive to this
New Hampshire
festival and just come in, have an ice cooler in your car, have your change of clothes in your car, and enjoy your day and night at Porcfest. But we're going to ask you guys to cut all the way across Rogers campground, all the way to the far end, and there'll be parking on the far side, and then all the way down, and then at the bottom of the hill. So that's what we're going to ask people to do. We believe we have enough parking for that. We are asking people to kind of carpool and things like that. But what's really important is that we have rows. So, a lot of times people go in and the parking lot's empty, and so they just park like this, or they park in different angles. And no, come on. We're trying to squeeze people in. So I don't think I have enough volunteers to have a parking attendant for people. Mm-hmm. So I'm asking people, please volunteer. It's going to be like 3-4 rows at the top and 2 rows at the bottom. So if you're not parking in a row, you're probably parking wrong. So pull your car up and down.
Just behave responsibly, people. Behave responsibly. We're all in this together for the next couple of days at Porcfest.
Well,
all right.
Is about how to help. We'll put line down to show kind of, here's a parking area, and we're going to have people park their cars, so that, obviously there's a car here, and then another car here, and another car here. So it's, there's 3 rows. So hopefully people will be responsible, and we'll have plenty of room.
Excellent. So I see a question in the chat from Alexandra. Is there a waiting list in case someone cancels their tickets? Now, I don't think there's a waiting list, but there is like an aftermarket sales going on. I think you guys have a Facebook group. There are like 17 Telegram groups. Where can people look for tickets if they still want to try to come?
Yeah, so we've pretty much moved off of Facebook and MeWe, where we started. Mm-hmm. We're now on Telegram, which is what we're going to be on for the festival itself. And so if you go to Porcfest list of links, that's like the #1 things. You can join it. And there it has all the official groups and then the unofficial groups, so these affinity groups. So Women in a Free State, for example, is in there. And you might want to go in and talk to the women and see what types of events they're having. And, and you can do planning and that type of thing with these groups. When you're there, they can do announcements. Oh my goodness, we're, so-and-so, Angela's showing up here and she's going to be giving a talk on this. So come now, so you can get kind of real time. But more importantly, when you leave the festival, you're connected with these people who all share your values. So you can actually stay in touch. So that's why we did there. In that group, if you search for tickets, there's a group that they have a very large aftermarket on campsites, on hotel rooms, Airbnbs, on tickets. I think the market price is around $100, $110 right now. I haven't told a lot of people this because I wanted to keep it at $2,500, but we still have sponsorship packages. And the sponsorship packages sometimes come with tickets. So not included in that $2,500 were these tickets that are, sponsor a porta potty, for extra cleaning. You can put whatever your sentiment is on the outside and the inside of the porta potty.
I love that.
Business, or you could make some joke, or it's Porcfest, so whatever you want to put on the inside and outside, that's yours. That's your porta potty, and we clean it extra and stuff like that. But I think that comes with two tickets. So so $350, you get the porta potty cleaning, and which is really our concern. The reason why we close this off, a lot of people go, well, why don't you just keep it going? And I was talking to Gene Epstein the other day, and he's an economist, for God's sake. He should know this. And he's like, well, why? Why not just have 4,000? Because I was saying I could have had easily 4,000 people at this festival. And I have one word: sewage.
Yeah. Oh, for real. It's for all of our better safety.
I'll tell you what keeps me up tonight. It's like dreams of, oh my God. So we are really, really conscious about the taxing of the facilities. We ask people, don't put anything into the toilets, please, except human waste. And they're flimsy. They buy like this worst toilet paper that you could possibly have. And I think it actually backfires because people go, oh man, I hate this toilet paper. And so then they get a man wipe and they put it in, and all of a sudden we're in trouble. So yeah, don't put anything into those toilets, please. So we bought out as many porta potties as we possibly could. We have extra cleanings of the porta potties. We really want you guys to use it. And if you use the regular toilets, please be careful. But yeah, so that's my biggest concern. 2,500. You can pick. You can help us by sponsoring a porta potty, and you get some tickets for it. And my thanks. Thank you very much for letting me sleep at night.
Excellent. I think that's a great way to go about it. All right. I see a question in the chat. I think this is a planted question, but it's one that's worth asking. Do the vendors at Porcfest take things like silver, gold, and crypto?
That's a softball. Yes, and gold backs. They didn't mention gold backs. I love these things. Oh shoot, I don't have one. It's a very thin layer of gold pressed in plastic. So it actually has gold value in it, and there's and that has a value, and then there's a markup for the manufacture of it, and so you can actually use these, and then as gold goes up because they're inflating our money supply, the amount of gold in there will increase in value. So I like the gold backs. I like the silver and gold, but yeah. So primarily people use Federal Reserve notes. So bring your dollars, bring lots of them because there's lots of swag. You're gonna have lots of food options, and it's just kind of fun to buy stuff. I have so many T-shirts and things like that. I'm going like, how many T-shirts should I take versus how many am I going to buy? So take a lot of dollars, but they're vendors generally. Some vendors will take credit cards, but a lot of vendors will take crypto. There's a lot of crypto. And if you don't know anything about crypto, you're going to Porcfest. There are so many people who can help you out. I generally don't know that much about crypto. I have a wallet that I got at Porcfest just because one of the vendors refused to do any business unless I use crypto. And so I had to get a wallet, and I've got some crypto. It's worth like $65. It was like $10 when I got it. I don't know how to access it. Mm-hmm. So
I feel the same way about crypto, so I'm there with you.
They'll take all of those things, and they'll take trade and barter. I've actually seen where vendors are saying, look, if you agree to mine my store for 2 hours so I can go down and watch this, or I can take part of here, I'll give you food for this number of days, so. There's a lot. It's as much. There's a guy. It was interesting. There's these two people who have, for over Porcfest, they have traded this one bar, very small bar of silver for dinner. So one person will cook up dinner and they'll oh, here, let me give you the silver. And then the other person will cook up dinner. Oh, here, let me give you the silver. And so they've traded this silver back and forth for like a decade. And they still have that one because there's no taxing, there's no sales tax in here, there's no income tax. It's not like you earned anything. So it's just the same bar of silver going back and forth. Of course, now they should cut it and be a very small part of that silver, but they love using that as an example of how when we really do have free trade between consenting adults and we don't have some bully coming in and stealing. this thing just perpetuates itself. We're going to have a lot of micro vendors too, where people are, they're going to cook up a steak on their grill at the campsite, and instead of just buying 2 steaks for themselves, they buy 10 steaks, and they put out something on Telegram saying, "Hey, we got some steaks here. We'll sell it for $15, $20 to get you a potato as well," or something like that. And you go over there, you meet with them and talk with them, and you buy it. And then maybe the next night you put together something, and it's some sort of a chicken dish or something, and you put out, you make enough. And so, this whole idea of the community taking care of itself. But yes, we trade, and we trade as long as it's consensual. It's okay.
I love it. I love it. I gotta admit though, like as a newbie to all of this, I'm starting to feel a little overwhelmed. It feels like it's like a purposefully unstructured thing that has just enough structure to keep it honest. But I feel like as a newbie, I kind of I don't even know where to start with this.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, I tell people, look, there's way more than you can ever do. Way more than you can ever do. And so you really need to pace yourself. I think of Porcfest as being an experience, an experiment of in freedom, and in being around people who don't believe that you should be their slave, and that actually who respect you. And what does that feel like? So a lot of the experience of Porcfest isn't going to. It's not a conference. I have to tell corporate libertarians all the time, it's not a conference. This is an experiential immersion program. And so much when you leave Porcfest, and it's hard to sell this to newbies, but when you leave Porcfest, the things that you're going to remember is not the Tom Woods show or this. It's going to be when I sat down with Carlin and we talked about X, Y, and Z. And we were just having a good time, and she brought out this great bourbon, and we drank and we talked and we laughed, and that's going to be where your memories lie. So one of the things was I really pushed lounges this year. So we have hubs that are. So I classify, and it's a very loose classification, and I don't care what you call yourself, but I classify the hubs of activity as either vendors, big food, product, or service, or venues that are basically doing ideas. And it could be discussion groups, hands-on training, talks, lectures, classes, workshops, or lounges where you just go and you can kind of hang out. So what I tell newbies is get there early and find a touchstone. And the touchstone will be 2 types of touchstones. It'll be a place where you can kind of go and be, and allow Porcfest to swirl around you, and yet you're in a place of calm, and you can call out and, hey, I like that t-shirt, and have an engagement and a talk. I've found lounges in the past that were really excellent. That I go, this is going to be my home here. I'm just going to hang out. So that's one touchstone. But the other touchstone are people whom you meet early. This is why I tell newbies, don't show up for Saturday only or Friday only when everything's hectic and people are so busy that they don't have time to kind of connect. Tuesday is an icebreaker day. We're going to be running a bunch of icebreakers in the pavilion, so you can find people who are similar to you. And I want you to actually connect with these people. And so throughout Porcfest, when you go into a talk and you see one of them, you sit down next to them and you say, oh, well, where were you? And you kind of share your experiences and stuff. So you can kind of bring this down to something a little bit more understandable and a little bit more controllable, and allow this to occur, right? This is going to occur. You don't need to attend everything. You're not going to attend everything. It's impossible to attend everything. So it's not, and really what you're looking for is this connection. And you're looking for a number of these connections. Okay. And so we give you lots of opportunity. We're not saying that you have to be a particular type. We have lots of different ways for people to fit in. And I don't know how you might fit in. So that's the reason why we have such diversity here. But it's diversity in order to allow you to find your niche.
I love it. And I know I'm planning on hanging out in the Mises Caucus Lounge quite a bit. I am looking forward to that. It's going to be fun. All right.
You and about 30 other people I'm going, how much room do you have in that Mises Caucus?
It's going to be enough, Dennis. We're going to think positively. So what are some of the things that you're really looking forward to at Porcfest? Because I know you got a lot of big names coming, but I know there's also like other things going on as well. What are you looking forward to seeing?
Well, I'll tell you the thing that got me so excited. I went to the New Mover Potluck, which happens on Tuesday, the first Tuesday of every month in the Free State. We have a New Mover Potluck in Manchester. We also hold one here in the Seacoast on, it's a brunch though, on the third Sunday. But it's where we welcome newcomers who have just moved here. It's like, thank God you're here. Thank you so much. And whom can I connect you with? Because you're going to be a particular type, and I want to connect you with the right people. But Jeremy Kaufman, who runs Library and Odyssey,
which I will be live streaming on in the future, Jeremy.
This is he's like kind of a competitor to YouTube, and he's playing against the big boys here, but he's a Free State entrepreneur. And I've been really pushing this pork tank idea. And what Pork Tank is, it's like Shark Tank. It's for liberty ideas. So what we want is people who have a really good liberty idea. And it might be a liberty startup. It might be liberty activism. It might be liberty community. I don't care what it is, but it's got to have a liberty component to it. Other things that we're going to be judging it on is sustainability, the presentation, how well they'll be able to implement it, and whether it has a New Hampshire relevancy. Because let's face it, the rest of the world's going authoritarian, and we're going to have the oasis of liberty here in the Free State. So guys, escape your authoritarian states now while you can, and move here and help us build this here. But anyway, so I've been pushing them hard to create this thing, and I actually used to interface with the MIT Enterprise Forum, which was the early harbinger of the Shark Tank. And I interfaced the Sloan students, the MIT Sloan students, with the MIT Enterprise Forum. And so I've always thought that was a great format, really fun, and I was really pushing it. And Jeremy was, and it turns out that he didn't want to MC it. And so he said, look, I want you to MC it, and I go, oh. Because I was actually going to present my liberty idea, because we're going to have thousands of dollars on the line here. So whoever wins this is going to win thousands of dollars for their liberty. And I was going, I got some liberty ideas. I have a major one that I'm working on right after Porcfest.
Oh.
So I was going to present it there and have them test me on it, and I was sure I was going to make some significant bucks. But he wants to take me out of the running and make me the moderator and MC. And I was going, dare he? Damn, that's gonna be fun.
Hey, you're voluntarist though. You don't have to agree.
No. I'm thinking that's exactly the role I want to play. I want to be the person who helps instigate freedom. And so I love this idea. I love that we have a lot of people who have liberty ideas, and I love that we're actually talking about how our community can actually support people who are creating liberty. And we actually put our life's blood, the wear and tear of our body, our labor, the lifespan that's held in monetary units, and we say, yes, this is valuable enough that I'm going to give you part of my body energy, and go with it. Go. There's a lot of things in the Free State where I go, I could never do that. Especially the politics stuff that you do. I cannot. I do not have the personality to be able to handle that. I so admire what you can do. I would wither like a little daisy. I
I don't know that I have the personality for it either. I'm more like the bull in the china shop than the seasoned diplomatic politician. I'll tell you that.
But I love going around saying, every time that somebody says, I'm going to run for this office, I'm always the first person. I go, here's $20.
Yeah, you go do it.
Let me be the first to actually contribute to your campaign, because it solidifies it to them, right? They go, oh, okay, I'm actually can do this. And so it's, our community really needs to build up liberty ideas in order to create this free state. And so I think that's the thing I'm most excited about. I'm giving a number of Liberty 101 talks, my area of expertise, which is ethics and, how the taxonomies of libertarians and all that type of stuff that I've picked up and written about for years. But that's primarily to kind of newbies or people who are liberty curious. They got dragged in there with a spouse. They're going, so what's this liberty thing about? Is it just Ayn Rand? And I go, no, it's not, dude, stop it.
Can I pitch you my liberty idea real quick? Because it's not a fleshed out idea. I don't want to actually pitch it formally for money, because this is not a fully fleshed out idea. So I was chatting one day with a state representative whose name might begin with Keith and end with Ammon. And, and we were talking about how he basically got thrown under the bus on New Hampshire Public Radio one night by Laura Kanoy, who completely distorted the bill and all this stuff. And we were chatting and we were like, why isn't there like a liberty radio station or something in New Hampshire? Because in a lot of places in New Hampshire, literally the only thing that you can listen to on the radio when you're driving to work or whatever is NHPR. Why isn't there an alternative to NHPR that is for more liberty-minded people? That's my idea.
Yeah. Well, I don't know why you wouldn't pitch that.
Because that's about as far as I've gotten with the idea. There's no further idea.
You need seed capital. And as a matter of fact, the purpose of pitching it is to see how many people get excited about it. And they go, darn, that's worthwhile. And if people aren't excited about it, so the angel investors are going to critique the idea, and they'll say, you might want to think about this, you might want to think about that. And they're going to actually invest their own money into whichever ideas they like the best. So you may actually have, one person investing in this person and one person investing in that person. But I'm going to have the audience all right at the beginning. I'm going to ask them to hold up $20 and hold the $20 up. 500 people, $20, that's $10,000. That's the power of community. Okay. And I want them to choose which of these ideas they like the best. And if somebody pitches a good idea, I want them to take another $20. And now we got $20,000. Because that's our power. When we congregate libertarians together and we actually are supporting each other, we can actually, we can create big things. We don't need to go and look to, this institution or that institution. It's we who can actually build liberty. And I demonstrated that with Porcfest, right? What is Porcfest? Is Porcfest our big institutions coming in and creating this? No, it's people like you creating a hub and actually having talks and having people gather together and supporting one another.
I love it. I can't wait. All right. So what other things do newbies like me need to know? Let's see. What did I not think to ask that I should have asked Dennis? That's a good open-ended question.
So I really like the pacing yourself and touchdown. I think that's really important. Let me see where. One of the changes that I have is, so we hold the Porcupine Freedom Festival in a campground. The campground is not designed for a festival where people are going to different events all over. So one of the things I did this year was create what I call the Silk Road. And there's a history behind Silk Road. I'm not going to bore anyone with it.
Yes, there is a history behind Silk Road.
But anyway, there's actually a talk about Silk Road. And I invite people who don't know what Silk Road is to go to the talk or ask any porcupine what Silk Road, and they will tell you what Silk Road is. But it's basically a way of cutting across the campground without having to go up, down, and back down. but it's extremely jagged because we didn't know what the heck we were doing this year. And so it's going to be like with the Himalaya pass, and you have to go down and up, but you can get across. But then anyway, that's going to be a major innovation so that you can actually get from one hub that's here to another hub here. Another thing is I labeled all of the islands A through Z. So one island is Anarchy Island, and another next one is Bastiat, and next one is Crypto, and so on down the line. So if you know that you're on the next, if you're on Bastiat, and you know that your next event is on Freedom, we have to go Bastiat, so Crypto, decentralize, what's E? E, and then Freedom. So you're 4 islands away. And then I also created this as a battleship, you know, the game Battleship grid. Okay, so the islands are lettered A through Z, and then you're on a hillside. So the bottom of the hill, lower part of the hill, mid part of the hill,
okay.
So all of the events will say they're on, you know, Bastiat Middle Hill. Okay, now I actually have the site number, but if you go to the Bastiat Middle Hill, you will be within 5 campsites of it, and you'll be able to see it. And so you know generally, without even looking at a map, oh, geez, I have to go to Bastiat, middle of the hill. I'm up here at the top of the hill, and I'm over on this. You know, so I know how to kind of get there. So it's a good way. The Silk Road can take you there. You know, if you're just going to cut across a couple of islands, you know, you can zigzag your way over. So that's another innovation that I did this year, and I think it's going to really help out people because we have such a decentralized campground, and people are doing different things at different places. The other thing is get on Telegram as soon as possible. Download Telegram. The list of links will tell you the different things to get on. The official ones are really important because we may not get good cell service up in the mountains. I know it seems like
my next question. Yes.
Of course we'd have good cell service, but we may not get it. So if before you come up to Porcfest, or if you're in a hotel room or something like that, and you have Wi-Fi, you know, download the schedule into your phone. You know, there's a Porcfest schedule. And so you can get the entire schedule on your phone. You can get the map on your phone. You can get all the hubs and what they're all about. And so you can go there, and even if you don't have the cell connection, you have your boat program right there. There will be a paper program that's actually done by an entrepreneur. Again, we're decentralizing everything, and so he's offering that. It's some sort of nominal fee, and he's seeking advertisements for people who want to advertise. You know, tonight we have the disco blast. You know, come to our tent, and we're doing this. Clothing. Up in the mountains. We're up in the mountains. What that means is during the day it's hot, and you need to protect yourself. You need a hat. You need sunscreen. I wear short pants and a t-shirt, and that's all.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about sunscreen, to be honest. This is my fatal flaw.
Yeah. And then the sun goes down, and you're up in the mountains. You're at altitude, so the temperature drops. So I take with me in my car, I take my warm clothes, and I take my rain gear. So guaranteed we're going to have 2 days of rain during this festival.
Don't put that out into the universe, Dennis.
I'm just telling you.
Guarantee rain?
Yeah, okay. Be prepared. Be a Boy Scout. Be prepared. And so I have foul weather gear. I have, you know, I'm a sailor. And so I have, you know, the yellow outfits and the pants, and then I have boots, and so wool socks. And so it can rain. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. I'm not being stopped by that. So be prepared with actually porcfest.com. The list of links has, you know, what you should be taking, and I highly recommend that you do it. And I'm actually creating a checklist for you guys to actually go down, and that will be on the list of links too. So definitely check your list of links for your checklist of what to take. Alcohol. I think that people should be bringing whatever they want to imbibe or ingest or what have you.
Excellent.
In the past, we have had kind of a centralized source, and we do have a lot of lounges this year who will be trading. I mean, we don't sell alcohol. Okay, I just want to be clear. If anyone's listening, we don't sell alcohol because that would be illegal and that would be wrong. So that's something that we just don't do. But you know, if you have this great beer and they have this great wine, a match made in heaven.
Hey, listen, it's at a campground. People bring alcohol to campgrounds, okay?
If you're off the campground, get a cooler, fill it up with ice, have some bottle openers and can openers. I always take a backpack and I fill it up, you know, so I'll go back to my car on a regular basis and I'll fill it up with maybe a couple extra drinks. Good way to make friends. Hey, let me buy you a beer. Yeah. and don't bring schlock. You know, I bring my favorite beer, which is this Canadian craft porter beer. And there's really good beer. We have an event called Beergasm, and you have to bring craft beer to it. You cannot bring schlock to it. You have to bring at least a 6-pack of craft beer, and then you get to try all different types of craft beer from all around the place, and it's so much fun. So anyway, Beergasm. You want craft beer, you want other beer, but also, you know, maybe you'll offer a margarita sometimes or something like that. So bring those types of things. A folding chair is really useful. I often will take a folding chair with me. So these hubs are at people's campsites. And at the minimum, I said, look, if you put up a canopy tent, you're a hub. You know, you don't even need seats, really. You know, some demonstrations are done standing up and you know, kind of workshop type things. But, you know, if you have your own chair, you know, in a backpack, you can basically camp out anywhere. And you know, a lounge is filled up. You're at you said the Mises, which is going to be extremely popular place. So you have your chair. You go, oh, too bad all the chairs are taken up. I guess I got my own chair. I'm included here. Also, I think you know, a good thing to do is get on Telegram now and talk to people and say, that's an interesting person. That's a person I really want to meet, and start making a list and then search for them. Have it be like kind of a, what is it when you're looking around for things?
Like a scavenger hunt.
Yeah, have it be a scavenger hunt and look for Total T 52. Where's Total T 52? I gotta find Total T 52. I really like what you said there. I have another thing where that has all the different podcasters on there. So you can say, oh, yeah, I really like your podcast. We have a lot of events that are kind of dancing. We have a rock and roll almost every night on the field. Different people. We have a EDM. So if you really like kind of, you know, big beat, they've rented out the pavilion on Friday night. But we have an 11 o'clock noise curfew. And so 11 o'clock, they're going to headphones. This is innovation, man. That is, and I think they're going until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. So, and you know, they trade off the headphones and that type of thing. So, but you want a garb, and there's people going in cosplay, and someone wants to do like kind of a Renaissance dance. You know, not something I would have ever predicted. But they're going to have a Renaissance dance, and people are talking. You belong to the crochet group. Are you familiar with the people who are doing the cosplay type thing?
No, I don't think so. But that's amazing.
Another thing you really have to bring: white noise machine, volume. You know, if you're in the campground. You know, we do ask people to stop the thrumming at 11 o'clock, but people are still going to be up and talking and debating and discussing and laughing, and there still will be, you know, music, and people will be playing their guitars and stuff like that. So just insulate yourself. Bring white noise machine. And if you're the type of person who needs to get to bed at 8, I'm the type of person I need a nap in the middle of the day. I don't know how I'm going to fit this in, given what my schedule looks like. But if you're that type of person, you can sit down, put your headphones on, take your nap, and get up and feel refreshed. I don't want to hear any victim stories.
No victim stories. We're at the freest place in the land for at least a couple of days. No victims allowed.
Water. Stay hydrated. We are in elevation during the summer, during the day. It's warm. You're going to lose a lot of water. You're going to be doing a lot of talking. You may be doing drinking. You may be doing other things. So you want to stay hydrated throughout the whole thing. I ask people to keep a lot of water bottles, especially if you're off site. Come to the festival with 2 or 3 water bottles all filled. Stick them in your cooler. Let them chill all day, but then you always have water. We might actually get into a situation where the sewage back up and we have to turn off the water for a while.
We don't want that.
We go into water bottles, and you have to buy water and stuff like that. So insulate yourselves. Don't be a victim. Water is extremely important for this festival. Stay hydrated. Water. What else?
Love it.
Sports. There is a pool, so people might want to bring a swimsuit and jump in the water. The kids really love that. Oh, kids! So the segment that loves Porcfest the most is the 11 to 14-year-old preteen group.
Really?
They have the best time, and they get together and they are flocking like those birds flocking over here and flocking over there. And they have babysitting services and dog walking services. So you'll see them, they're flocking, and then there's 3 of them are pushing one carriage, and another 2 are walking the dog. And they're major entrepreneurs. My daughter, when she went to Porcfest, she came back just like so rich. She had made so much money. Now, of course, I wanted her to go to this lecture and that lecture, and I barely got her to go to the things when I was presenting something, or she was just having so much fun. And these are friends that has stayed with her for years afterwards. So the kids really have a blast. Make sure that your younger kids know how to get back to your site, know where it is. There's a number of peaceful parenting, empowering things that you can do. Some of the parents are offering some classes on that. How to do Porcfest with kids in tow, and I recommend doing that.
And I imagine it would be just an incredibly safe environment for kids. I mean, for everyone, it sounds like, but I mean, especially like I can imagine some parents who haven't come before might be concerned about that, but that's part of the whole deal. It's a safe environment.
Yeah, it's a very safe environment. People are looking out after each other. There are a number of armed individuals, and so it would be bad form to cause really major difficulty. We do have pork rangers. Their job is primarily
hang on. Pork rangers. Do they have uniforms?
No, they don't have uniforms. But their job is really kind of facilitation and then de-escalation. De-escalation, working, trying to find win-win type of situations. Clarifying ownership. Okay, whose site is it? Yes, I know you want to do this on that. And whose site is it? Let's go back.
So they're reminding people that they're voluntarist, essentially.
So because we have such a clear ethic, this actually works out pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the kids have a blast. The teens tend to kind of hang off by themselves. We have a young adult group, kind of college and just out of college that have their own affinity group, and I haven't seen what they're planning and doing. Mm-hmm. But all these different age groups and people like that, they'll get together and do things. We have some singles groups, both singles, straight singles and gay singles and trans singles, and all these. I think they're doing speed dating, so they have different speed dating things going on throughout the week. Music. If you have something, bring it. My goodness, it's a festival. We have people who will just around the campfire will just play some songs, and if you know some fun songs that people can join in. I mean, that's fantastic. Bring some s'mores and have a good time. And so what? You're missing X, Y, and Z. Oh, I'll tell you another thing that I'm excited about. So the two big events will be Pork Tank. Well, we have so many big events. I should. But the two big competitions will be Pork Tank and Soapbox Idol. And on Soapbox Idol, you have 3 minutes. You get up on a little soapbox, and you can rant about anything that really, really pisses you off. So,
this is like my jam. This is my jam.
And let me tell you, your competition, you're going to wipe it out, because you know who won last year?
Who? You did? Oh,
I am the winner. And you know what the prize is? You get a ticket to the next year. But they didn't say that in order to get the ticket, you have to work like 3,000 hours. But I'm not that good a speaker, and you just it just comes out of you like this, and so you are perfect for Soapbox Idol. But for both of these, you have to go audition. At 10 o'clock in the morning every day is the audition for Pork Tank, and at 11 o'clock is the audition for the Soapbox Idol. It's a lot of fun, and you get up there, and whatever it is, I'm actually going to be competing again in Soapbox Idol. I'm daring you, Carlin, knock me off my pedestal, because I am the king.
I'm going to do my best, Dennis. Is me. I'm paying attention. I'm watching you.
I have a good idea, though, for something that's just bugged me for years, and I'm coming hard on it. I'm
going to be prepared.
You do your normal thing, or you could do something that's really been in your craw for a while, and you want to express it.
I'll tell you what, I'm doing a rant about YouTube like no one's business after today.
Oh man, people will love that.
Let me tell you.
I don't know who the judges are yet. My guess is we won't even know the judges. Last year, the judges were Tom Woods, Liberty Bell, Jeremy Kaufman, and it's Carla's shtick. So she MCs it. Mm-hmm. And I had to actually get up on stage and intimidate Tom Woods, because he said some bad things about me. I was like, oh no.
See, I feel like part of the benefit of me being like just a total noob at all this stuff is like I don't know anyone really yet, so I don't know anyone well enough to like be intimidated by them. I'm like, I don't even know how smart these people. I don't even know who you are.
Yeah, I'm just learning about myself. So we're all in a consciousness awareness thing.
But not unconscious bias. All of that. Well, Dennis, I think that this I cannot tell you how excited I am to be coming to Porcfest. I mean, it's just like the more you talk about it, it's like it's just like it sounds like the happiest place on earth. Honestly, it really does. And I've never been so simultaneously excited and intimidated by an event before, but I feel like once I get there and I kind of get my bearings, it's going to be okay.
But this is why I tell newbies, come early. So I'm going there Friday before Porcfest is even nominally started, just to kind of get situated and get peaceful with the space. And then as people come in, I welcome them. And I actually, I can form relationships and things like that as they're coming in. And I can find a small tribe that becomes my touchstone. And so that, I go, boy, I'm feeling a little discombobulated. Where can I go? Oh, here's the person. I know him. Let me go grab him and just connect a little bit with it. Mm-hmm. So I so urge people to come in and take ownership of the space early. You'll see the OGs coming, well, I only come for this. Well, guess what? We're not doing day passes. So you may be SOL. I want people to come for the whole immersion process. I want people who are in the Free State, the porcupines here, that they're coming in order to welcome newbies, to welcome people from out of state. We have the highest percentage for decades of people coming from out of state who are seriously thinking about migrating to the free state because I targeted them. And so everyone who's in the free state is now an ambassador of why should people move here? What is the purpose here? What are we doing? And the answer is we're trying to create a small microcosm of freedom in an unfree world. 6,000 years of slavery to rulers. It will eventually end. And can we do that in our lifetime? It may not be my lifetime. It may be yours, though.
Mm-hmm. Well, I love it, and I simply can't wait. I think it's gonna be great. The location for Porcfest is beautiful for people who haven't been there. Fun fact, I actually got married not too far away from where Porcfest is. I got married in Littleton. So it's going to be fun to be back up in the White Mountains. It is absolutely beautiful. Dennis, anything else to add today before we conclude? You've already given us so much, but I'm sure there's so much more.
Chris Lopez, who is one of the sweethearts of, the Free State Project, people think, it's such a large, it's just volunteers. It's just a bunch of volunteers. But we do pay a couple of people, one of the two people we pay, and we pay very little to this person, is Chris Lopez. So Chris, I love you. Big shout out. You're awesome. She would kill me if I didn't mention volunteering. So a great way to actually take ownership of this thing is actually to take ownership of it. So it's all done by volunteers. If you volunteer, you're actually helping people. And that's all we're there to do. So volunteer for a few hours. Go in the list of links. There's a link there for how to volunteer, and you'll meet Chris Lopez, and then you'll be on the inside. You'll get to meet, these fantastic people like me. You can meet me anyway, even if you don't volunteer. I'm just saying that you'll be working with people who really, really, really believe in this liberty and are ready to roll up their sleeves and create it. And you'll actually be able to create it. Now, if you don't volunteer formally, and what we're asking for is like 2, 3, 4 hours at the Reg tent and just welcoming people who may have driven for 3 days to get here. Okay. And they finally get here. Whose smiling face are they seeing there? Whose welcome do they get? And I'm hoping it's you guys, and you're just like, thank you for getting here. Thank you for driving across the country and coming and joining us. And you are going to have a fabulous time. So if you're not doing that, the volunteering of just, who's picking up the garbage? It's just volunteers. It's just us. It's just us. So if you see some garbage, someone was irresponsible, pick it up and put it away. If you see a trash can overfull, pull up the trash can, tie it off, drag it over to the dumpster, put it in the dumpster. There'll be trash bags in there. Just put one back up. We are taking care of ourselves. Don't think that this is some sort of corporate festival. It's not. It's just us doing it. So please, take care of one another. Watch out for one another. Be safe. Take care of yourself, number one. And take care of the facilities. Don't put anything in the toilets. Don't think about it.
We mean you.
Don't, and tell your 13-year-old daughter not to put anything down. And, yes, I got it. The gerbil cage needs cleaning. It does not go down the toilet.
Well, fantastic. Well, I can't wait to come. And, I think it's going to be a wonderful event. I'll definitely do a debrief and maybe even, posting some stuff from the event so everyone can see it. If you can't make it or can't finagle a ticket, though, I already see some people in the chat. They're like, I'm going to get one of those porta potty sponsorships so I can go. So you did a good job selling that. So I just want to thank everyone in the live chat today that made it over to Rockfin when YouTube gave me a last minute strike to check out the live stream. What can you do? We made the best of it, Dennis. We did it. We got through it. I'm going to be putting up the recording on all the other places that I can upload to for the moment. And we'll get it up on YouTube next week when I think I'm allowed to post again. But Dennis, thank you so much for spending some time with me today and hanging out. I would definitely love to have you back in the future just to talk libertarianism in general, because I know I saw some questions, particularly from Jeff Horton in the chat today, just about libertarians in general. And I think, you obviously have a wealth of knowledge, and I would love to be able to kind of pick your brain. Would you be up for that?
Oh, I would love to do that. Love to do that. I mean, give me maybe a week or two after Porcfest. I have to write up a business plan right after Porcfest. So give me a little bit of time and then let's do it, because I think that this is the most important movement for humanity. And I'm so excited to be able to contribute. I haven't, for 40 years I've been working here, and this is the most I've seen. I know, getting kicked off of YouTube and knowing the censorship and and how much we're besieged. You don't know what it was like. You don't know how far we've come. And if you look at this by decades, we are just moving with such speed, and we're accelerating. I think the Free State Project is a major accelerant. I think this Porcfest will really accelerate that. And so I just feel blessed to be able to be helping and creating a little bit more freedom for generations to come.
All right. Fantastic. Well, I'm really excited about everything I've seen, kind of connecting with the libertarians in New Hampshire so far. I'm really excited about it. I've always thought that this needed to become more of a viable thing. And I'm just like, I can't even tell you guys in the chat, like how much more planning I have seen just from the libertarians I'm connected to in New Hampshire. Like in the last couple of weeks, like they're thinking about things, they're making plans, they're doing the work. And I really am very excited about where this is going to go in the next couple of years, especially considering the last year and a half that we've had. So fun times are ahead of us, I think. But that's all we have for today. So thank you guys for joining us. Now Jeff, to clarify, I didn't get kicked off YouTube. I got a strike on YouTube, which makes me not be able to stream. I am appealing that strike because it's bullshit. But we'll see how that goes. But don't worry, guys, because I know I have happy hour scheduled tomorrow. We will be doing Friday happy hour tomorrow. We just might not be doing it on my normal YouTube channel. We're going to figure all that out, and I will be posting it on all my social media so you guys know where to go. Dennis, thank you again for joining me, and we'll have you back soon. All right, guys, take care, and I'll see you soon.